Hi everybody, how you doing? Glenn Giordano again, your favorite drummer. Like I said, I don't think I'm my favorite drummer. Anyway, we're going to start another series, and I'm going to get a couple of series going here. Calling this one, Your Vocabulary Lesson, Part 1, right? And the other series will be the syncopation, which we started on the pad, and I'm going to do some of that on the drum set next for that one. And this particular video is going to have little two sections to it. We're going to do the one part on the drum set for the actual groove, and this is, we're going to talk about the shuffle today, the regular straight ahead shuffle. Right? It's not that hard to play, but it's a hard one to master. Not that hard to play, but a hard one to master, because it has to do with something more than just where I put my left hand and where I put my right hand. It has to do with the touch and the feel. Because the shuffle is either going to swing or it's not going to swing. And there's a whole gamut of shuffles ranging from a more traditional blues to rock shuffles. You know, there's a whole jazz shuffles, of course. And I'm going to cover some of that. But more important than that, than whether it's a jazz or a rock shuffle, is the feeling you create. And so we're going to have in this one, you'll see on the bottom, it'll say Vocabulary Lesson Part 1, and one of your main vocabulary words to have if you're going to try to do this in any kind of professional manner is you need to have a good shuffle. And vocabulary in the drum world really goes to all of the different grooves that we have, you know, and sadly, my friends, the days of being a jazz drummer or a rock drummer or a reggae drummer are gone. What you got to be is a drummer, and the phone rings, you got to go. I mean, that's the way it is now. So I have to have my shuffles, I have to have my funk grooves, I have to have my rock grooves, I have to have some Latin grooves, I have to have all that stuff. That is my vocabulary. That is my vocabulary. So today's vocabulary lesson is the shuffle, and let's get right into it. So, the shuffle, as you should know, we'll start out with a basic shuffle, is the first and last note of the triplet played either on the cymbal or the hat, right? We're going to start out with the hat. It's 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, right? But it's not just that. And truth be told, it doesn't have to be triplets. You can make it 16th notes. In other words, not only do the first and last of each 4 16th notes. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and 3E and a 4E and both are valid. And I've talked about this before, I think in the halftime shuffle videos. Art Blakey's shuffles were very triplet D oriented, very triplet. But like Buddy Rich or Tony Williams, very 16th note oriented shuffles. But the one thing that was true about both of them, they swung. They swung. Why did they swing? Because it was about touch. Right? So if I'm doing this, 1 and a 2 and a 3, even though I go fast, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, that doesn't swing. This, 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. And if you look at my hand motion, I'm really allowing the stick to bounce. And like I said at the end of the video, on my pad, I'm going to demonstrate that very close. I'm going to get the camera right up on my hands. 1 and a 2 and right? It's got to bounce. Not only do you have to learn that bounce, but you have to learn to control that bounce. So, whatever situation you get into, you get called for something, maybe that band tends to play their shuffles more 16th note-y. Maybe that comes from the bass player. Maybe he's driving that. And it's not your band, you're just a fill-in guy. And I make most of my gigs are fill-in gigs. And before the pandemic, I played every weekend, you know, with somebody. And, you know, after a while you get to know people. But this one particular band may be more of a 16th note-y band. Another band may be more traditional blues and maybe more triplet-y. So you've got to make those adjustments. You can't say, well, this is the way I play. You make the adjustment, especially if you're a fill-in guy. If it's your band, they adjust to you. Most of the time for the drummer, it's not your band. You're coming in to make them look good for the night. So, let's start with the first, most important shuffle of all, the Texas two-hand. Because everything is a variation of this. And here we go. Both hands are going to do the same thing. And for the Sake of the lesson, we're going to start with just triplets. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and with the bass drum on either all 4 or 1 and 3. I'm going to start with it on all 4. And a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. So even when I'm playing slow, if you notice, I'm really letting that stick swing. Because the shuffle is in the swing family. And you know that old saying, if it don't swing, it don't mean a thing. So let's put some mustard behind it and let you feel how it sounds. Let's go a little faster. You may decide to put part of that song on the cymbal. Notice what I added, the 2 and 4 on the hi-hat. Let's do that a little quicker. Now you might be saying to yourself, Glenn, I notice you're doing it all traditional grip. This is true. I do like traditional grip better on shuffles because of the motion, and it just tends to, maybe it's because it's an older groove and that's the way those cats played, man. I like doing it that way. I really can't tell you, but can I do it match grip? Yes. And should you be able to do it both? Yes. And when you go to the end of the video, we're going to talk about both of those ideas, match grip and traditional, and this whip I'm talking about, right? Coming down to being able to snap that 2 and 4, even though the previous note was very quiet. And that's a technique that you need to master. You need to master that for the shuffle. So let's just do it. Texas two-hand with the bass drum on 1 and 3. Okay, when I do play the cymbal, the whatever pattern I'm playing on the cymbal, I generally on shuffles put the hi-hat on 2 and 4, and that's a good idea. Let's do what might be considered traditionally the jazz shuffle. So now instead of doing this, now I'm going to do the regular traditional swing beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, to 1, 2, to 3, 4. If I count it all the way out, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. My snare hand is going to do the same. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Same thing with the bass drum. 1 and 3 or all 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. And again, just to show you, I'm going to do a quick ride pattern. Again, I want you to notice my hand. There's very little movement in that swing pattern. Very little movement. It's not... You can hear the difference in what swings and what doesn't. And again, a shuffle is in the swing family, and if you can't make it swing, you can get every note exactly where it's supposed to be, and they're not going to call you back. It has to do, the shuffle and the swing have to do with touch and feel. So now we're going to get one more, and then we're going to switch gears just a little bit. I'm going to do what's the quarter note shuffle. This is even easier, right? I'm going to just play it all on the ride, and I'm going to play quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same thing on my snare hand. So all 3 of those have the snare hand doing the same thing. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. But I don't always do that. You can do any combination that you want. As a matter of fact, when I'm playing very fast, I leave out notes. Right? A fast chord note shuffle, I may only play 1, the 2, da, the 4, da, the 2, da. Watch. Here's, let's say, a little up tempo. to take this a little up tempo, and I'm going to start with quarter notes, and I'm going to switch it around a little bit. I'm going to bring it all the way up to this. So we'll go from this to this to this. All right? And I will keep that snare doing 1, da, 2, da, 3, da, 4, da. Why do I do that? Sometimes it just feels better. That's one reason. It just fits better with what they're doing, what the bass player's doing. Sometimes it's about tempo. When I leave out notes out of my snare hand, I can play quicker. So let's start out on the ride with quarter notes. Right, so you can see as I got faster with that, right, I kept that cymbal going, but even that starts to sound a little busy and horsey when I'm going real fast, so I switch back to quarter notes to let you know that when I'm doing this to 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, a 2, I can go pretty darn quick on my shuffles. Pretty darn quick. And I'm going to show you one that is one that, in this area, I'm the only one that I know that does this. I just take that quarter note pattern and I put it on my snare. And here's a little history. Way back in New Orleans when this stuff started, and guys only had a snare drum and they played on the street corner. And they had these little blues things on the street corner in New Orleans. The drummers played their shuffles this way. So I got quarter notes on the snare. So let's say I had the bass drum on 1 and 3, and the hi-hat on 2 and 4. So what am I doing? I'm just giving it a more traditional sound. So listen to this stuff. Listen to BB. Listen to Clapton. Listen to Joe Bonamassa. Listen to anyone you know that's doing shuffles. Traditional bluesy shuffles. Buddy Guy. I'm just thinking there's tons of these blues guitar players, because if you want to work, you gotta have a good shuffle. But I want you to stay tuned for this next part of the video, because we're going to talk about the touch. Because I don't care if you get the notes exactly where they're supposed to be. Now I gave you a few of them, right? A few of them you can work on. You got this. You got this. Right? You got several different patterns I gave you here. Quarter notes or swing. But if you notice, there is nothing happening in my shoulders about this, man. There is nothing. It is all happening in my wrists and in my fingers. And that's what we're going to talk about, is that feel. And if you can master that, whether you're playing funk or rock or swing, you're going to be a great drummer. Anyway, stay tuned for the second half of this little video, and I'm going to probably film it tomorrow, which doesn't really matter to you. I don't know why I told you. But yeah, and I'm going to go over this hand stuff, because it's really important. It's very important that the feel is right. Anyway, see you soon, my friends. See you soon. Hi, everybody. This is the part 2 of this video, and I'm going to try my best right now. And I'm going to do some close-up shots to really help you see what my hands are doing with this bounce method. Because really, in order to play well, to play relaxed, to make this a fun, because let me tell you, I've done this since I was full-time. I've done this since I was like 38, 39. Full-time, I've always done it since I was 14, but full-time, where this was my living. And it's just been a good life. And I mean, I can't tell you. And if you're thinking about it, or you want to try, or you just want to have fun when you're out with your friends jamming in a club, you want to be able to play well. So here we go. To do those shuffles and all that kind of stuff, watch what I'm talking about. It's a seesaw that you're creating, right? I hit, the stick comes up, and I push down with my fingers. Same thing with my right hand. I hit, stick comes up, I push down. So let's talk about the traditional grip hand. If you look, my thumb is opening up. My fingers are opening up to let the stick come back, and then with my thumb I push it down. That's one way. There's a lot of ways. There's with this top finger. I push it in like a trigger. So I'm opening and closing. But in the shuffle, there's one more component that's very important, and it's the whip. So you might need to do it with your left hand if you're right-handed, because you'll be playing the snare, right? We've got a 1, which is the first part of the shuffle, and then a 2, or dot 2, depending what you want to say. You need that accent on 2. For my right hand, so I'm hitting, and then I'm pulling my wrist down, right, and whipping it down. And literally using my fingers and this whip. As I slow down, now speed is essential here in how fast you move your wrist, because if you do it slower, you lose some of the accent. Then you're using more force with your fingers. But when I've got a little speed behind it, again, I'm opening my fingers and closing. Let's look at my right hand, same thing. So I hit, and I come down, right? So I'm whipping my stick down, but I've got that first stroke, which is like, it's like a down stroke almost. I'm just tapping and then coming down. And so I've intermixed close-up so you can really take a look at what I'm doing, okay? And let's look at traditional grip. Same thing, right? And this is more of a turn. It's more of a turn. So I'm hitting, again with the stick just like it was in match grip, and then I kind of flatten my hand out. And so this does two things. This is why I tend to play my shuffles with traditional grip. Because when I make this turn, here I've got the very, very tip of the stick touching the head. When I come down like this, I've got the entire tip, sometimes even the shoulder if I want a rim shot, touching the head. And then with a rim shot, you get the whole stick. So, and as you know, the other name is the molar grip, right? It's this whipping action. And there you have it. I hope that helps you. There are a lot of books on this. There are a lot of videos on this. It's the bounce method. You need to look at them, not just me. And if you're having difficulties, take some lessons for this, right? You know, I did take a lot of lessons, and I've also taught myself. And this is one of those basic things that you really need to push off the edge of the pool with. I personally don't believe you can do it well on your own. You can learn it well on your own. You can watch those videos on YouTube, but you really need somebody to be able to look and say, you know what? If you move your hand this way, or if you open your fingers this way, watch me. I think that really helps with this. And then after that, once you get this basic technique of playing around and playing your doubles, and then you got shuffles and your ghost notes, all come from that same idea, that same thing, then have at it with the YouTube stuff if you want. And of course, my channel. But anyway, I hope you do get to play some gigs, or if you are playing gigs, I hope my channel is helping you out with some of these ideas. And anyway, live well, be well.